Hello, I am the Script Doctor and welcome to the channel. Today's review of The Mandalorian is going to be a short one, because frankly, not a whole lot happens story-wise in this episode. What we have here is a set piece centered around a turning point. It is action-heavy, expands on some characters introduced, and raises some stakes, and all done quite quickly. Because it is more action-heavy, there isn't a great deal to really discuss on the writing side of things. Please be advised that this review will contain spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, please feel free to return to my review after having seen the episode. With that out of the way, let's take a look at Chapter 14, The Tragedy. The episode opens with the Mandalorian getting a kick out of Grogu using the Force to pull the knob into his hands. The Mandalorian shows some amazement and pride in the child, and then proceeds to give a speech about the importance of the kid going off with a Jedi. As much as he's talking to the child, the Mandalorian is also talking with himself, reminding himself that he was quested to return the child to his people, and justifying it as he doesn't have the means to train the kid as Ahsoka suggested. It's the Mandalorian convincing himself to let the child go because it is the right thing to do, even if the Mandalorian has grown attached to him. It's a sweet and endearing scene, and I kind of like how it reinforces the two's relationship. When they finally reach Tython, it isn't all that impressive. This world in the Star Wars franchise is of great importance. It was a planet of the Jedi. We were told of temple ruins near a mountain where there is a seeing stone at its peak. But from what we see here, there are no temple ruins, no animal life, not even plant life that has grown over abandoned structures. It's kind of lackluster. I wasn't expecting it to be epic, but given something cool to convey a sense of history or something that would pique our interest and desire to explore its secrets. While the ship is too large to land next to the seeing stone, the Mandalorian carries the child via jetpack. Once the Mandalorian reaches the henge, he places the child on the stone, and as he reaches out using the Force, a very familiar ship approaches and lands. The Mandalorian wants to take the kid and run, but there is some type of force field protecting him. Not sure of what this new arrival is all about, the Mandalorian rushes off to intercept in a hope to buy the child time to finish what he's doing and hold off this threat. As the Mandalorian gets closer, he is ambushed by blaster fire and then greeted by Boba Fett demanding the armor he took from Cobb Vanth. He puts the Mandalorian at an impasse by having Fennec Shan draw her sniper rifle on the child. Boba offers a truce once the Mandalorian removes his jetpack. Jetpack? Why that? Why not lower his weapon and disarm his remote missiles? The jetpack seems like an out-of-place request. I'm feeling a great disturbance in the script. Boba makes a claim on his armor that it was his father's, given to him by Mandalorians. Fennec returns to Boba's side, revealing that she's loyal to him for saving her life. They debate over the armor for only a moment when a transport shuttle arrives. The Mandalorian rushes to get the kid, but he doesn't retrieve his jetpack. That's deliberate incompetence. He needed the jetpack to get to this place from his ship, and now when he goes after the child, he forgets the very tool that will allow him and the kid to quickly escape. He's supposed to be a Mandalorian warrior, and when another variable introduces itself during a tense moment, he doesn't grab all the tools available to him as preparation for a hostile encounter. I find that difficult to believe. This is a deliberate choice against character or self-preservation to set up a specific conclusion, but negligence from a character is not a good way to do that. It is us as the audience seeing the writer's hand in manipulating the actions. It is actions like these that can take the audience out of the story because they are not focused on what is happening, but rather why this choice is being made. The Mandalorian tries a few times to penetrate the force field and rescue the child, but is tossed away each time. Boba and Fennec scope out the transport ship where they see a squad of stormtroopers disembark and head towards the seeing stone. The two snipe them off, and this is where the story progression stops and we get a long battle sequence. But it's not really that thrilling. The stormtroopers aren't overwhelming anyone, and given how pathetic they've been in this show, I have no emotional investment in this set piece. I'm looking at these transport ships and seeing these two gun turrets and wondering to myself, why aren't those armed? Why isn't there any suppressing fire to allow the stormtroopers to get into an advantageous position? It all feels casual. Even seeing Boba Fett smack around stormtroopers with a gaffy stick is cool on a superficial level, but it's not impressive when his opponents don't stand a chance. On Fennec Shan's side of things, she's picking off stormtroopers rather easily.
Like shooting skeet.
but one of them was able to set up a mortar to take shots at Fennec, while another team assembles an E-web to pin her down. There's a moment where she has a clear shot at the E-web and the two troopers arming it, and instead of opening fire, she runs away. But this strategy doesn't work in the troopers' favor, as a mortar shell loosens a heavy boulder on a mountain. Fennec braces herself and pushes the boulder free with her legs to come tumbling down on the stormtroopers. For some reason, she counts to herself while doing this. I don't get why. The entire nature of the countdown is to sync up with a partner.
Do we do it on 3 or do 1, 2, 3?
We go on 3.
3 on 3.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
The troopers don't even do a good job of running away, and the one using the E-web doesn't leap to safety, but instead continues to fire at the boulder, probably because it's the only thing he's been able to hit all battle. Boba ambushes another group of troopers before spotting the open hatch to the Razor Crest. A second transport ship lands with even more stormtroopers, but the numbers don't matter at this point, because Boba Fett is armored up and takes out the squad with ease. The Mandalorian wakes up from his encounter with the force field. He tries again to grab the child, but it's no use. His last resort is to protect the kid, so he starts climbing down the mountain to engage the troopers. Why hasn't the Mandalorian retrieved his jetpack yet? I feel really hung up on this thing because we know from Chapter 10 that he has remote control over the jetpack, so why not recall it to him? Fennec gets surrounded by stormtroopers and they claim they don't want her, just the child, but for some reason aren't opening fire on her after all of the other stormtroopers she's killed. I don't think it would matter anyway, as the Mandalorian shows up behind her and blasts those troopers away. Apparently, the Mandalorian owes her this defense from last time. Last time? Last time he hunted her as a bounty and they succeeded in her capture. What does he actually owe her? This exchange doesn't make any sense. Am I missing something? I did rewatch her appearance in Chapter 5. They caught her, he left to go get a dewback. When he returned, he found her dead and caught up with that kid bounty hunter to save the child. This line feels out of place, especially when it was only a few moments ago she had her sights on shooting the child. With the Mandalorian at her side, the troopers finally open fire and use himself to shield Fennec until Boba Fett returns to mop the floor with them. After defeating a dozen or so troopers in a matter of seconds, the remaining squad members retreat to their transport and fly away. Boba launches his jetpack rocket at the one shuttle, and its destruction takes out the other shuttle as well. It only seems like victory for a moment, then Gideon's starship fires from orbit, destroying the Razor Crest. Darn, and after he just got it fixed, too. Boba Fett takes off to get to his ship before Gideon does the same, and the Mandalorian starts for the child, who has stopped his force transmission and is now taking a nap. With the stormtroopers having failed, Gideon launches 4 dark troopers to go and retrieve the child instead. And as the Mandalorian is rushing to the henge, I'm still wondering why he hasn't called for his jetpack. If speed is of the essence, why is he remaining on foot? The dark troopers arrive at the Seeing Stone and take off with the child. Boba in his Slave One spaceship pursues and is ready to shoot, but the Mandalorian doesn't want to risk injury to the child, so he holds off and decides to maintain pursuit to see where they are headed. As Boba gets closer, he sees Gideon's ship and confirms that the Empire is back. Well, why do you need the ship to confirm that? You just fought 2 squads of stormtroopers. Does that not convey that the Empire has a presence still in this part of the galaxy? Fennec argues that shouldn't be the case, as the Outer Rim is under the jurisdiction of the New Republic. Wait a minute, since when is Tython in the Outer Rim? Isn't that a core world? Or is there a line missing from this exchange where the Empire is unable to leave or expand beyond the Outer Rim because of the New Republic? Has Tython moved somehow? Did the Jedi at some point use all of their force powers to teleport Tython from the core to the Outer Rim? I'm confused. It's not just Tython's location, but also the fact that they're ignoring the presence of the Empire even though it's right in front of them. Well, Boba confirms that it's still Imperial and returns to land the ship as it jumps into hyperspace. The Mandalorian sifts through the remains of the Razor Crest. He finds the knob the child likes to play with, and the Beskar spear he got last episode. Fennec Shand and Boba Fett offer to help the Mandalorian rescue the child, as it was part of the deal they proposed in exchange for the return of his armor. Granted, Boba did steal it back, but at least he's willing to help the Mandalorian as a result. He reveals his chain code regarding the armor, and it is my understanding this information corrects an issue where at one point Jango Fett was a Mandalorian, and then wasn't, but now is a foundling, thus making him as much a Mandalorian as our own Mandalorian. Oy. So, with Boba's armor rightfully returned to him, he and Fennec are in the Mandalorian's debt to rescue the child. Cool. Like last season, we're setting up a new team for a big set piece. Boba Fett flies them to Navarro, where the Mandalorian appeals to Cara Dune to help him rescue the child from the Empire. His idea is to spring Migs Mayfield to help him locate Moff Gideon's cruiser. Cara's apprehensive, but when the Mandalorian reveals that Gideon has the child, well, we pretty much know what she's thinking at this point. My question from this proposal is, why spring him? Cara Dune's a marshal for the Republic now. Why not request a supervised day pass? I'm sure it's something they could use to appeal to the New Republic that allows them to get Mayfield to rescue the child. I would suspect the New Republic would be somewhat on board with that cause, throw in a reduced sentence for Mayfield to convince him to cooperate, and then give us some hints of Mayfield looking for opportunities to make a break for it and betray the team. But I'm getting into speculation at this point. I'm not sure what the next episode will be, but this episode, while thin on story and length, does function as a strong setup. We get to see Boba Fett in action in a way not seen in Star Wars before. We get a story beat regarding the child. He has communicated with someone through the Force, so we have that setup left hanging to either be addressed in the remainder of this season or most likely in the next season. Overall, this was a pretty fun episode. Aside from issues regarding Tython's location, lack of temple ruins that were mentioned previously, the stormtroopers being fodder, and Mandalorian not retrieving his jetpack. Otherwise, it functioned somewhat well. It's still really difficult for me not to buy into the level of incompetence with stormtroopers. I can acknowledge that one trooper bumping his head on the door in Star Wars, but having them become these terrible shots and unable to think strategically just ruins the believability that they were able to contribute to taking over the galaxy and maintaining order for nearly 2 decades. When your goons aren't a threat to your heroes, the heroes become less impressive with their feats. By all accounts, Boba Fett's actions should be amazing, but when stormtroopers have been redefined from expert marksmen and feared authority figures throughout the galaxy to buffoons that can only hit a moving target when it's massive in size and barreling towards them, then I'm not going to think very much of anyone that can defeat them because it can be done so easily. If they could correct that one issue, I think a lot more of the show with regards to danger, stakes, and risk of success will come across stronger and make the victories our heroes achieve far more rewarding. Aside from those points, the story did deliver with the setup of the tracking beacon on the Razor Crest. The child was taken, and we know what they plan to do with him to a degree, using him as a donor. Now, with their ducks all lined up, all that needs to be achieved in the following episodes is to have them knocked down, and hopefully, if done well, we as the audience win the prize of a great season finale. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have anything to add to this episode, please leave a comment below. Thank you for watching, and never forget, it all starts with the script.